Hello everyone, my name is Brendan Snyder. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds, number 79. Now, last week I called it number 79 and I was off one number and you saw that I put it in a caption at the bottom there, but we are officially on number 79 for this one. So this is where I like to collect together all the different purchases that I've made over the past week, and I get it for different places like my local record store, which you guys have seen I've been hitting up a lot, and then of course also online stuff like eBay and Amazon and more. So we're going to hit on all of that sort of stuff, but before we get started, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please click the button. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by subscribing, you'll be able to stay up to date on all that's going on in the world of music, just like this, with New Music Finds, episode number 79. So kicking things off here, I did get some stuff from eBay this past week here. And in some of my previous videos for like what's that you're listening to and those sort of things, I'd been listening to some Montrose, and I'd gotten into some of the solo stuff of Ronnie Montrose and actually found that I really liked it. So I was looking for a particular one, this one here, Territory, 1986 solo album. But in doing so, the person was selling a batch of 3 solo Ronnie Montrose. So I went ahead and picked them up just to get this one. I think it was about $30 and I felt it was worth it for this one alone. But I was getting 2 more with it. Speed of Sound, a 1988 solo album. And this one, the Diva Station. And it's kind of interesting. Definitely still very much enjoying this, but found myself also liking this as an instrumental album. This one here's got some vocals on it and stuff, and I gotta say, maybe out of the 3, the one I thought I'd like least, I ended up liking best. So kind of interesting how that happens sometimes. You go into it for one thing and you come out with another thing. But either way, 3 Ronnie Montrose solo albums there. Definitely was a good deal for me, and just came at the right time. It was something that I needed that would sound that particular way, and it did. That stuff definitely leans more towards the synthesized and 80s sound and so forth like that, but I was liking it. Now, when I went back to Sound Exchange earlier this week, or the past week when I was, for what we're talking about here, I ended up picking this up here. Warner Brothers presents Montrose, this album being their 3rd one, first one without Sammy Hagar on it. And it's a Rock Candy Records reissue, as you could see by the sticker that was there. But that had to do with me picking these up here, wanting something from their earlier rock, era kind of a thing. And I mentioned this before, but I do have that on one of those paper sleeves, but they don't come with any packaging. No sleeve, no liner notes, no nothing. Rock Candy does these so well with all their stuff that's with it, and the sound quality is so much better. I went ahead and picked it up, replacing it, and I'm going to hunt down the others too as well. I really like Rock Candy Records reissues. They just do it right. And then in a previous week, I had picked up a Bad Moon Rising album that features Doug Aldridge on guitars, Cal Swan, both of them coming from Lion, but Doug Aldridge also being part of White Snake, Dio, Dead Daisies, and other projects and stuff like that. I went back in and I'm talking with Anthony, the store owner of Sound Exchange, and he said, I think I have a self-titled album by them. And he pulled this out, Japanese release. And I was like, well, hey, by chance, do you have their 3rd album? And he had this one. So I ended up being able to flesh out my Bad Moon Rising collection. When I was there previously, I only saw the 2nd album, Blood, and I really like that. So, when you're in music stores, if you're looking for things, you only find one of something, go up and talk to the people that work there and find out, because you never know if they're going to have it somewhere behind the counter. Both of these were behind the counter. They just weren't on the floor. So, hey, I lucked out. And it was interesting because when I was in the store again on Friday, which is when I filmed with Anthony, somebody came in having seen my video asking about the Bad Moon Rising. Anthony initially said, yeah, that was the last of it. And I reminded him, I said, don't you still have that 3 CD collection? And he thought for a minute and he said, yeah, actually, I think I do. And again, it was behind the counter. He dug into the drawer, and he had it and that person walked away with all 3 CDs as a 3 CD compilation collection kind of a thing. So that person made out. Now, that really was the last of it for him. But yeah, you know, sometimes they don't always know what they have, and that's cool. You know, they've got so much stuff that's in the store. How could they possibly remember everything? But, you know, check and ask and you might receive. So I've also been into a lot of instrumental guitar and stuff like that, and so I picked up some more along those lines. In this case, some more Satriani, Flying in a Blue Dream, which I didn't own. Well, I mean, both these I didn't own. I owned this one previously. It was actually my first Joe Satriani album that I bought, and it's a little bit more set in what you'd expect for the 90s era sound and so forth, and then he kind of comes back to his guitar shred styles thereafter. But this one here, which I didn't know and wasn't expecting, he sings on like every other song that's on here, which I think is really cool. And I just wasn't expecting that. Didn't know that Satriani sung. I mean, I know he had a voice and he could sing and whatnot, but not on his albums. So that was a really cool find there. A little bit different than what I was expecting. And then I'd been into Eric Johnson, having just picked up via Musicom, his second solo album at Princeton Record Exchange the previous weekend when I took a trip out there. So I picked up 3 more Eric Johnson albums. Bloom from 2005 was an album I had at one time and got rid of. You know, back in the day, you know, if I wanted something new and I didn't have money to go buy it, I would gather up 10 or 20 albums I hadn't been listening to for a while and go trade them in, get something new. I no longer do that because I often find now that I'm buying things back. In fact, that's what's happening with both of these. These are both traded in at different points, and I bought them back on the same visit, so go figure. And then Eric Johnson happens to have 2 brand new albums out at the same time, Yesterday Meets Today and The Book of Making. So they're interesting in that these are albums that he put together during the lockdown, during the pandemic. He dug through archives. He pulled out songs that were either not quite complete or just sketches of ideas or whatnot, and he fleshed them out. 9 songs for each album, 18 total tracks. But 2 albums, 2 separate packages released on the same day. So I like that nice little double album. But I like when bands do double albums but keep them separate, like when Guns N' Roses did The Use Your Illusions and Bruce Springsteen did his 2 albums released like that. So that was earlier in the week, and then I actually, as I said, returned to Sound Exchange on Fridays. That's when I do my filming with Anthony. So I'm always picking up stuff when I'm in there, and usually it's whatever I've been listening to during the week and kind of get a little bug in my head about it, and then I go there and I look for stuff. And again, having been on the instrumental guitar stuff, I picked up more stuff, some Vinnie Moore, fleshing out my catalog, Defying Gravity, and The Maze. And so I think this is 2001, and this is 1999. Pick those up. Those are good there. Those are much more in the vein of the UFO style playing that he does today, unlike the more straight up shred style stuff that he was doing in the 80s. And as I mentioned, picking up, you know, Eric Johnson recently, but also at Princeton Record Exchange. The one I didn't have was Tones. In fact, I never owned this one here, so this was new. Picked this one up, the debut solo album from him. He actually recorded an album back in, I think it's 77 or something, but it was shelved. It was never released, and it later got a release, I think, in the late 90s, early 2000s. So this technically is his second solo album, but it was his first commercial release, and that's the one most people know as his debut solo album. Speaking of debut solo albums, picked up Joe Satriani's debut solo album. And so starting with this one, these are used CDs, so I got these for a really good deal. And Sound Exchange has a nice thing where it's buy 3, get 2 free. So I'm always looking at it. If I can hit the 3rd one, then I might as well keep going to find 2 more that I want. And so I found Ted Nugent. If you can't lick 'em, lick 'em. This one here is a 1988 solo album, and definitely rooted in that 80s era sound. It's not Ted Nugent's best works, but if you're in the mood for some 80s guitar playing, definitely works. What I like this for is that it's a original Atlantic Records pressing of it. Looking this up online, didn't realize how valuable it is. So the original pressings of both this one and the album that came right before it, 1986, Little Miss Dangerous, those go from like somewhere between $75 and $150 on CD. Not just vinyl. In fact, I don't know what the vinyls are doing for those. But even if you have the reissues of those, they're pretty valuable. But Original Atlantic Records one, pick that up for $7.99. And then if it's the buy 3, get 2 free, it's an even better deal. So good stuff there. The Dregs, Best of the Dregs. When I purchased this, I thought this was just another compilation of Dixie Dregs. Turns out it's the 3 albums that they released under just the Dregs. And so I have a Best of the Dixie Dregs, which focused on the first 3 albums. And now with this one here, it focuses on the final 3 albums that were released under the Dregs from their original heyday. And I thought I was just kind of fleshing out the catalog. I didn't realize I was actually getting something different from what I already owned. So getting home, doing a little research on it, reading a little bit closer, and finding out that it's more than just a CD that was purchased to flesh out a catalog, and putting it on, it's great from start to finish. So I've now got this sort of go-to Dregs album, if you will, that I can put on just when I want a touch of something like that from, you know, old Steve Morse versus solo Steve Morse, or Deep Purple Steve Morse, or even Kansas Steve Morse, and so on. He's got a lot of different projects. Flying Colors Steve Morse, and so forth and so on. And then this one here, Desert Rose Band, with Chris Hillman from the Byrds in the lineup. Turned out to be really good as well. I wasn't expecting to enjoy that. It's definitely of the country rock vein, almost maybe even veering more towards country than rock, but I actually really enjoyed it. And so, you know, there's some fiddle and banjo and things like that that's on it that leans it in the other direction away from just rock. But yeah, it spoke to me. And so I ended up picking it up, and since it's one, I used it. Essentially, these became the 2 that I considered my free ones. So I added these on, ones I didn't specifically want to pay for, because I purchased, you know, selected 5 total used ones. That was a good deal. All right, and normally where I start, and I didn't really realize this, I'm doing this towards the end, but that was actually in the order of purchase. So on Friday, I got my new releases. One of them from Sound Exchange that I picked up was this, the David Paich Forgotten Toys debut solo album by the keyboard and vocalist, David Paich. Good stuff. Like it. It's only 29 minutes long, 7 tracks. First one is a very, very short instrumental, maybe not even 30 seconds. So really there's only 6 tracks on here, and the last one is an instrumental. And the 6th track that is on this thing is actually a re-recording of a song from Toto off of their album 14, All the Tears That Shine, which is really good. Can't say that I know what is the difference, except David sings this one, maybe Joseph Williams sings on the album 14. So in the end of the day, there's really only, you're getting 4 new songs on here, 5 if you count the instrumental at the end, kind of a thing. So I'm a little bummed about that. It's just not the full-length kind of album that I was hoping for. But it's good, and if you like short albums at 29 minutes, it's solid from start to finish. So I recommend it, and then again, I also say go in it with a little caution, knowing that it's short and it's not really the full 7 tracks you're expecting it to be. Okay. Rem Chronic Town EP, 5 tracks, debut, release for them, 40th anniversary, coming out in 1982, finally getting a standalone CD release. Jackal coming in hot, 30, celebrating their 30th anniversary, 3 brand new studio tracks, and it's got a live concert on here, 14 tracks, and it's all from I want to say it's a Kansas City show, can't remember. I wasn't expecting to like it. If you saw my What's New at the Record Store episode, you could see I was bummed out when I found out they were live tracks and not the original studio recordings, because they were promoting this as a best of compilation. But I have to say, when I got home and I put it on, the energy and sound that is the live show is really good. There's not too much crowd noise, so you really hear the band clear on it, and there's just a lot of power and energy within it. Jesse James Dupree has got to be one of the ultimate frontmen. I mean, just every time I've seen them live, heard a live show, he somehow brings that energy across no matter what, and still doing it to this day. So if you like live stuff and you like Jackal, I recommend this. get 3 new studio songs, and then you get a complete live show that's on here. Focusing on the newer era of stuff. So if you're tired of hearing those old hits, again, another bonus to this thing. Brand new Pat Travers came out as well, The Art of Time Travel. This one here also very good, got me into listening to old Pat Travers from the late 70s into the early 80s. It's been quite a while since he's put out a brand new album of all new original material. In fact, I think his 2019 album, if I remember correctly, Swing, that was the year, was all big band jazz hits. The album before that, I think it was called Retroactive, and that was older material. So it was a compilation of stuff. You got to go all the way back before that to, I want to say the album was called Can Do, and it might even be 2013. So almost a decade, I think, since we've gotten brand new original stuff from him. So his vocals are a little more raw and gravelly as he's gotten older, but guitar playing is still par none. Very, very good stuff on there, and I like the album from start to finish enough that it made me want to pull out my older stuff. So I've been on a trip, listening to Pat Travers stuff. And then we got brand new Lillian Axe, From Womb to Tomb, and I know a lot of you guys were having trouble getting it. Even Anthony was having trouble getting this in the store. It's heavier, and I've wrestled with this for a number of years because they've sounded this way for a very long time. But ever since the late 90s, the sound of Lillian Axe really changed from what they were. They were a glam metal band early on, and that's when I got into them, and that's what I really like. And they've never really come back to that. They're definitely a metal band now than a rock band, hard rock band, or glam metal, however you want to call it. But I will say their brand new vocalist that's first time singing on this album here, I really, really like. I like a lot better than the last guy. Still would always rather have Steve Blaze, or I'm sorry, the original guy, forget his name in here, because Steve Blaze is the guitar player and founding member of this. But the original vocalist, would always rather have him back in here, but I like this new guy, and I think he's worth exploring. Then a couple reissues came out. Rick Wakeman, 2000 AD Into the Future. This was a 1991 solo album for him. Interestingly, though, the back of this says 1993. Wikipedia says it's 1991. Apple Music says it's 1991, so not entirely sure why they've got a 1993 date on it, unless it was like 1991 in the UK and 1993 in the US. Sometimes that kind of stuff happens, but all instrumental, really good stuff from him. If you like Rick Wakeman, you're going to like it. It's very good. And Jamison, this is an unreleased solo album. First one, in fact, recorded before he put out the one that we know that he had done. This one's called Rock Hard, and it's finally getting a release by Sony Records, which is really cool, on Iconic Classic, if I can say that right there. 11 tracks on here. Very good stuff. If you're looking for that lost link between Survivor and his solo material, this is it. Really good. Just got released a week ago, but it took a little bit longer for it to get to me. So not the August 19th release date, the previous week before that. All right, and wrapping things up here, I got 2 records. One was given to me by my neighbor, so thank you very much to her. She had a Glenn Burtnick album, the debut album, Talking in Code. She ordered it thinking it was a CD, and it came on vinyl. And since I just moved in and we just met and we're talking about music and my YouTube channel and stuff, she asked if I would like it and gave it to me. So thank you very much. I am very much enjoying this. Of course, Glenn Burtnick joining Styx, that's where I knew him from, but long before that he was a solo artist, and should have made it big, but he didn't, unfortunately. But we still have the great music that he made to enjoy. And then I also picked up The Who live at Leeds, not so much for the live material on it. I know a lot of you guys know I'm not a big live album fan, although this one is one of the better ones. I picked it up to get all the cool inserts that are in this thing here. So this came with a lot of great stuff, 11 different pieces of paper that tie in and relate to the show itself. So reproductions of stuff like that are very cool. And got that from my collection, both some memorabilia and some music. What could be better? So there you go. 20 CDs, I think, 25, I don't know. It's got quite a few right here, plus 2 albums, so a lot of great stuff in this one here. I know I keep saying this each week. It will be paring back shortly, but I just keep finding so much great stuff at this store that I have to go ahead and pick it up, because as you guys know, if you don't pick it up when you see it, it won't be there the next time you're there. All right, everyone, have a good one, and I'll be talking to you all real soon. Bye-bye.